What's up, Blake? What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to tell everyone about the free rider policy.
All right.
No, we're not. Today we're talking about the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant.
Bad boys, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Yeah, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you
get in the apartment
and you had
get in the apartment. Hey, get over here, you in the white shirt.
So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get caught, then
get in the apartment. 1 second,
bad
man.
boys, bad boys.
I'll see you at practice. Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. How'd you like to hear a story about market failure? Today we're going to talk about Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant and how an externality is creating a market failure over there. Pen me. So I'm going to draw you a graph to better explain that. Here on the x-axis, quantity, y-axis, price. This is going to be our marginal benefit line right here. Going up towards the top, marginal, private cost. Right here, marginal social cost. In between the two, externality. So the externality that's going on over there is that they're doing this seismic testing. It's hurting rockfish population, which is hurting fishermen's business over there, as well as killing off a lot of fish, which is making a lot of people really upset. So this shifts the cost line to be the social cost, because private cost plus externality equals the marginal social cost. Now Diablo Canyon, they're producing their power at this level right here. Let's call it Q1. Now, they're not taking into account the externality, which is shifting the real cost line, the social cost line, to the left. This is a classic case of a negative externality causing a firm to overproduce. Let's call this Q star. That's where production should be. But this externality is not being taken into account, and that's causing production to be overdone there at the nuclear power plant. And that, my friends, is a market failure. The reason this is a market failure is because the nuclear power plant isn't producing their power at a level that's optimum to society. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Tommy!
Oh, hello. Funny seeing you here. Well, while we're here, might as well talk about the Diablo Canyon and the risk we run if we don't do the seismic testing. What we're looking at without checking out the seismic fault and seeing if it's still active and still a threat, best case scenario, we got an earthquake hitting the Diablo Canyon power plant. With that, we got a huge nuclear explosion that can easily wipe out the Central Coast, if not half of the globe. After this, we're going to have populations die, families are going to be dying, and there'll be few survivors left, disformed, let me tell you, because of the nuclear radiation, and they're going to be left to repopulate the Earth, and we're going to have to start over, and it's going to be terrible.
Hey boy, what are you doing? That's a slippery slope, a logical fallacy. You know, like, when talking about serious situations like the nuclear power plant over there at Diablo Canyon, you should really avoid using logical fallacies like that. Let's go ask Robert about it. I think he knows a lot about the externality.
Sounds good.
Hey there. Heard you wanted to hear a little about a negative externality. Let me tell you all about it.
An externality is any cost accrued by a third party resulting from a transaction that the third party had no involvement. In the case of the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant, seismic testing needs to be done in order to see if the seismic fault that the plant is located on is still active and threatening the power plant. During the testing, the local rockfish could be negatively affected, but more so will be the local fishermen who rely on these rockfish for their livelihood. When the tests are being done, the fishermen will not have access to the areas where these fish are located, and therefore will be unable to meet their usual fishing quotas. So these fishermen, who in this case are the third party to this negative externality, will have to take on the cost of having a reduced cash flow, which will lead to a decrease in their revenues as commercial fishermen.
So now that we've taken a look at the negative externality involved with seismic testing, what we need to go ahead and do is look at the risk involved with leaving this alone and forgetting about this seismic fault that lies on the Central Coast right near Diablo Canyon. What we need to do before we make any decision about seismic testing, saving the rockfish population, any of that, we need to go ahead and do a risk analysis to see how dangerous our situation is with this fault line. So the reason this seismic testing needs to be conducted is because of the threat involved with this fault that lies on the coast where the plant was built. A risk analysis needs to be conducted in order to understand the risk involved and to help find a solution. The first step in this risk analysis process is risk assessment. Risk assessment is the process of studying where this risk comes from and how people normally respond to it. In this scenario, the risk arises from the fault that lies near the Diablo Canyon power plant. The general response to this risk consists of the concern that there might be an earthquake which could cause the power plant to blow up. Similar power plant catastrophes have given people an idea of the severity of the situation, which created a wide consensus that the plant needs to be tested for seismic activity or shut down completely. There really are no other options because we can't simply let it sit. Next step, what we need to be looking at in the risk analysis process is risk valuation. We really need to dive in to see the value that people place on reducing the risk involved with leaving this fault. It is difficult to measure the value of this risk, seeing that it's not exactly monetary. What needs to be viewed is whether or not people feel as though this seismic testing is worth the potential of possibly hurting the Central Coast rockfish population, as well as hurting the business of the fishermen. Now, the fishermen, of course, and animal activists are on the side of believing that it's not worth it, but there are still many people that believe it is worth the small dent in the rockfish game. The last step of our risk analysis is risk management. Risk management involves viewing a policy and seeing how effective it was in reducing environmental risk. This step will come into play once a solution to the problem has been created and implemented. So in our case, now that we know that we have a serious issue and something needs to be done, we can go ahead and find our policy, implement it, and we'll see what happens from there.
So now let's start talking about a solution.
This is what needs to be done to fix this situation. PG&E needs to take the considerations of the fishermen into consideration when planning and conducting these tests. Although they'll be saving thousands of jobs for their power plant, they need to take into account that the fishermen have a job too, and it's to catch the fish that they're killing off with this testing. In order to ensure business is not lost and rockfish population should be spread out over several months. This will allow the fishermen to continue their fishing business without too much interruption. And also, upon providing the permit to conduct the seismic testing, strict regulations need to be outlined in order to ensure the needs of the fishermen are being taken into consideration.
So why is Michael's idea the really best way of going about doing this? PG&E is placed in a tough position because in order to stay open at the Diablo Canyon power plant, they must conduct these tests. Seeing that this is the only way that Diablo Canyon will remain open and keep thousands of people working, a compromise with the local fishermen seems to be the best solution.
Right now we're only at apartment complex.
What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Cops is filmed on location.